Acts chapter 12. But according to that same term, Herod the regent drove on the hands on some of those of the outcalled to treat them badly. But he eliminated up James, the brother of John, with the sword. But having perceived that this is pleasing to the Jews, he set, in addition, to take Peter also together with himself. But there were the days of the unleavened bread, whom arresting also he put into jail, personally giving him to 4 quaternions of warfarers to keep him, determining after Passover to lead him up to the people. Hence that abides, Peter was guarded in jail, but prayer was becoming outstretched by the outcalled to God concerning him. But when Herod was about to lead him here, in the same night, Peter was being made to slumber between 2 warfarers, having been bound with 2 chains. Besides, there were keepers before the door who guarded the jail. And perceive, an angel of the Lord stood on, and the light brightened in the dwelling cell. But hitting the side of Peter, he raised him up, saying, Rise in quickness. And the chains fell out off him, yea, out from the hands. Besides, the angel said to him, Gird yourself and bind under the feet your souls. And he did thus. And that one says to him, Cast your raiment about you, and follow me. And having come out, he followed him, and he had not perceived that it is true, that which was becoming through the angel, but he deemed to look see a vision. But having come through the foremost jail and through the second, they came unto the iron gate that brings into the city, which any was open to them by itself. And having come out, they came before into alleyways, and straightway the angel stood off from him. And Peter, having become clear in himself, said, Now I truly perceive that the Lord dispatched out his angel, and put me out and aside, out of the hand of Herod, and out of all the supposition of the people of the Jews. Besides, having perceived the local context, he came unto the house of Mary, the mother of John, who was called on Mark, where adequately many were, having been assembled together and praying. But at his knocking at the door of the gate, a maidservant came forth to below hear, by name Rhoda. And having unknown the voice of Peter, by reason of the joy, she did not open the gate. But as one having run in, she announced that Peter had taken stand before the gate. But these said to her, You rage. But she thoroughly strengthened the statement, having perceived it thus. But these said, It is his angel. But Peter abode on, knocking. And when opening, they perceived him, and were shocked. But waving to them with the hand to be silent, he told how the Lord led him out of the jail. Besides, he said, Announce all this to James and the brothers. And having come out, he went into an ulterior place. But when it had become day, there was not a little trouble in among the warfarers, what consequently had become of Peter. But Herod, seeking on him, and not having found him, investigating the keepers, commanded them to be led away. And coming down from Judea into the city of Caesarea, he spent time there. But he was quarrel-greedy on account of the Turians and Sidonians. But like-feelingly, they were present with him, and making Blastus compliant, the one upon the lying room of the regent, they requested peace, because their region was nourished from the regal possessions. But on an ordered day, Herod, having slipped into the regal clothing, and having taken seat on the podium, he dealt his thoughts publicly to them. But the public lifted up their voice crying, A voice of God and not of human. And immediately thereafter an angel of the Lord hit him, because he did not give God the glory. And having become worm food, he outsold. But the word of God grew and grew to fullness. But Barnabas and Saul returned below into Jerusalem, having completed the service, having taken along together with them John, who is called on Mark.